Hey homeschool friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the video where I chat through my reflections on the 2024-2025 school year. Now we are in May. We started in July. There has been a lot that has happened this past school year, like any school year, but I really like to reflect. I would like to look back on curriculum to see, how did I use it? Did I use it how I intended to use it? The question isn't necessarily did I finish it or do it perfectly anymore. I feel like I can let that go. Now the question is, did I use this how I intended to, or did we find that it wasn't a good fit? That's what I want to talk about. Is I want to take us through mostly the skills-based subjects, because a lot of our content subjects like science and history and read alouds and things like that, I'm going to do a separate video because I'm going to be reviewing the Sonlight products we use this year, because as always, they have kindly gifted me those for my honest review. So I'm going to be doing a dedicated review on that. But this video is going to be covering everything else. It's going to be covering my 5th grader, my 4th grader, and my twin 1st graders. And I made curriculum videos last year. And so I'm a bit curious as to if what I planned worked out, if you will. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, all the things now. Like I said, we're doing reflection videos for the 2024-2025 school year. And in the past, I have done them based on grade and all of that, but this year I'm kind of smushing them all together in this one, hopefully not too long, reflection video. Like I said, I'm mostly going to focus on skill subjects, but I do want to kind of broadly speak about content subjects. So we used history, Bible, literature. We used HBLD, which was the first year of American history with my big kids, and HBLA, which was exploring American history with my little kids. Basically, I tried to bring the picture books from the younger level and read them at the same time as that subject matter came up for HBLD. That's how I combined it. It really wasn't too difficult, and honestly, I just didn't end up using as much of the younger level as I had in the past, which kind of saddens me, but it is what it is. I feel like we were able to cover that time period really well. And the same story for science. I feel like we did Science D and Science A, and it went really well. We stopped doing the experiments only because of life, not because of the Sonlight experiments. Those were fine. Read alouds, amazing. Like, that's my favorite part. So all in all, Sonlight content subjects were a big success. I'm going to talk a bit about the Sonlight language arts here when I talk through the subjects, because those are very skills based. So let's segue into language arts, which language arts has the most moving parts, like we all know. And so I feel like this one had a decent amount of changes throughout the year. Maybe I'll start with kind of the all-inclusive type program. So I had a number of those that covered a lot of different subjects. Like, for instance, logic of English. I was using this with my oldest, who was in 5th grade. We were in the middle of level B, and what happened kind of early in the fall was there's just too much going on in this, and the spelling wasn't quite landing where I needed it to. And the thing is, I primarily picked this because my son struggles in spelling, and although I think it teaches it well, it wasn't landing as well for him, and so we ended up switching to all about spelling, which I'll talk about in a second. So we just ended up tabling this. I'm not getting rid of it. I still really, really like it. And I've made a number of detailed videos and Week in the Lives. I have an affiliate link down below if you're interested in the program. It just wasn't working this year. We just couldn't quite pick it up. And another multi-subject curriculum that I was using with my daughter was the Good and the Beautiful language arts. We used 3 of the 4 units with her. And we only recently stopped using it kind of this spring, only because I just don't feel like it was working. It wasn't sticking. This program is intended for the child to do it on their own. I mean, it's independent. Like, there's some teacher parts at the very beginning, and then they work through the rest of it. And I just feel like she either wasn't ready for it, she wasn't learning it. The only part she really loved was the cooking and the art. And I kept it around for mostly the grammar and stuff, because we had dropped the writing. That was another thing. We dropped the writing early in the fall. That just wasn't working. I'll get to what we moved into. And we hadn't even started with the spelling. I had started her out with all about spelling this year, and that was a big hit. And that's also where my son ended up, was all about spelling. So just kind of round out that spelling story. So we started him with logic of English. I started her with all about spelling, and eventually I brought him into all about spelling as well, which is a bit more of a teacher intensive program. I've used it in the past when it was like level 1. I just couldn't do it at that point in time. I had like twin toddlers, and it just wasn't happening. And so we were able to bring it back. And as long as I view it as one of my core subjects, things that I really need to emphasize, we do a pretty good job. So that's what ended up with spelling. But the good and the beautiful. Other thing I don't love is the readers. They're boring. I'm sorry for the good and the beautiful lovers out there. My daughter just didn't love them. And like I said, we're a Sonlight family. And so Sonlight excels at readers and read alouds. And so the kids had always been reading the readers from Sonlight Level D. That was top notch, amazing. They're both right on target for that, although they are in different language arts levels. So I would say that's the other curriculum that's kind of multi-subject, is my language arts from Sonlight. Now it's important when it gets to the level D is this ties into history. So a lot of the readers, most of the readers tie into what we're reading in history. And so using these two programs together is central. It really helps the learning. And I 100% agree with that. But then also within this language arts is some other things, like you have a dictation. From there you have some application, which is just grammar, punctuation, different aspects of language arts that really enhance the children's like writing. And so it all made sense based on how language arts was set up. I have a number of videos on language arts. I actually am planning another one this summer on all the new ones we've picked up since my last review. I still really do enjoy Sonlight Language Arts and the readers that go with it. Now, my kids are doing HBLD together, so History, Bible, Literature, but what I ended up doing is I pulled out Language Arts 4 for my daughter for the copywork application, as well as the composition for my daughter. Now, she was not reading the level 4 readers. She was reading the level D readers because I value the connection to the history. But she just wasn't quite ready for a few things. One, she wasn't quite ready for dictation. And two, the level of composition, or what was expected in, they call it creative expression assignments, she just wasn't quite there. But what I love about Sonlight is they have common prompts or assignments throughout the year that you'll see again in later levels. You'll just expect more. But the assignments are still similar enough that I was okay to pull her into the level 4 work. By the time we had made the decision to kind of offload both of these programs, we were fully immersed in the Sonlight Language Arts, and this is how we finished out the year. And this is the plan for next year. Spoiler alert, I do have my curriculum videos coming probably early June. Back to composition, because like I said, I was having my daughter use the composition from The Good and the Beautiful in the fall. And here's the thing, I used level 3 Good and the Beautiful last year, and I liked the way they taught writing. I liked how it was very scaffolded. I talked about this in so many videos. Like, I felt like she really did well with that. And then there was a like writing workshop book in here that it just fell flat. It didn't work. There wasn't enough teaching something. It just kind of didn't work for her, especially in the independent fashion with which it is taught. Now, of course, I could get in there and teach it with her. But I actually felt like when we did switch to this program, she settled in better, even though that can be hard too. I've had problems in the past with the creative expression from Sonlight and having direction, but I'm more comfortable with it now. So we did fine with that, and she liked it. And then my son, I started out with IEW because last year we were doing Sonlight and he was just like, there's not enough guidance and all this. And so we did do this, and I feel like there was some good that came from it, for sure. And I've talked about this before. What I feel like came of it is the ability for him to recognize the need for an editor, the ability for him to just get pen to paper and start writing and not be afraid of a blank paper. All of those things were wonderful. Some of the things I did not love the dress-ups. I went in tentatively because of things like that, and I struggled with it, and he struggled with it, and I think there's still good in it, which is why I haven't sold this, is I might do a little bit of this with my daughter just to maybe give her some of those confidence boosters as well. But to actually stick with this, I couldn't. We got through like 8 weeks, and maybe I ditched too soon, but it's all just so hard to nail down, honestly. Okay, there were some random little subjects in language arts that we were doing. We did The Good and the Beautiful typing. We kind of stopped that halfway. It was frustrating my daughter. I didn't have enough time for oversight for her. And then my son was doing it, but he did fine. I just let him drop that halfway through level 3. I let him drop his handwriting and he'll just type it, which he likes because it's spell check. So it works out. We're fine. We can go back to it if his handwriting gets out of control. The other things we started to do was Wordly Wise, and I had my son do a bit of this Grammar Ace. It's fine. It wasn't my favorite. You know, it's one of those resources that I might have him pick back up, but I'm going a different direction for grammar next year. Although I do like within the Sonlight, there's always that dictation application, which is kind of grammar-esque. So you get a little bit of that in Sonlight, but I think you need more, in my opinion. You need a little bit more, whether it be this or some other things we're picking. And then vocabulary, we do this just because I needed some independent work for my kids. I'm not too fussed about it, in all honesty. And then my twins, I think I talked a lot about this in my favorite elementary curriculum video. I'll link above. I highlighted this because this has been the program that has taught all my kids to read. And my twins, who are 7 right now, are doing so well. They're definitely not quite there yet. I can't just release them to reading by any means, but I feel like by the time we finish this program, we're like 1/3 of the way done with it. By the time we finish, then they will be. And my plan is just to pull this into next year until we're done and until they're in a good spot with reading. And I just can't say enough good things about Abeka Phonics, as well as Abeka Math. They are doing Abeka Math and they like it and it works. I have used Saxon in the past for my kids, like some of the lower levels, like level 1, 2, and 3 I've used in the past, but I just decided to do Abeka because that's what they liked and they were learning, and so I just decided to stick with that. And it served me well. Like, it was a good decision. It was one of those decisions at the beginning of this year when I was making their curriculum video that I was unsure about. I was unsure if I wanted to go into the Abeka grade 1 arithmetic, but it's just fine. I really disliked the morning meetings in Saxon, in the early grades of Saxon. And otherwise, I'm using Saxon 5.4 for my daughter and 6.5 for my son. He's who I picked Saxon for, and he does well. He does just fine, and he's learning, and we use Nicole the math lady, and there's nothing more to say. It works. My daughter, on the other hand, it's a struggle. She is young for her grade, and so we're switching her out of Saxon. I think I've made a decision. I'm not 100% sure, and I haven't officially bought it yet, but I will shortly, and I'll talk about it in my curriculum video for her. And this has probably been my biggest struggle of the entire year, has been Saxon for my middle child, and that's okay. It's just the season we're in, and I just need to fine tune it a bit for her. My hopes are that I can take my twins from Abeka, probably go through Abeka Math 2, and by the time they're done with that, they should be able to transition into this. I feel like the way the scope and sequence lines up would get them into Saxon 5.4, and I think both of them would do fine with it, but I'm not 100% sure. They're pretty good at their math facts for what we are working on. And so as I look at kind of our skills-based subjects and watch back through my old curriculum videos, I think it's been fine. Yes, I had higher hopes for programs such as this. I did. I thought this was gonna work. I thought this was gonna just work and my daughter could be a good and the beautiful girly as far as we could with it, but it just didn't work for her. And this does work for my son, but it wasn't working for me. And so these are all the examples of like the reality of homeschool, right? So in reflecting, this is pretty normal. I feel like we switch when we need to switch. I don't feel like I'm a curriculum jumper. I feel like I try to make wise choices in the moment and then follow where my kids are at and realize that they are so different, each of them. And I can try to serve them, but I also have to make sure it serves the whole family as well as my teaching style. And so it's a dance, right? And I know you all feel that way, but upon reflection of my 2024-2025 homeschool year, I think we did really good. We made a lot of progress. I've learned some things about each of my kids, and that's a win, right? So let me know your thoughts on any of these programs, on how it worked for us. Share how it's worked for you in the past. I love celebrating with you if it is a win. And otherwise, you guys, that is what I have. That's what I have for this video. If you have nothing you necessarily want to say, although I want to hear from you, maybe let's do a tree or a book. A tree or a book emoji down below just to let me know you were here. And otherwise, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next homeschool video. All right, take care. Bye.